Hey, how y'all doing? Welcome to another episode of Steward School with Spencer. Today, we're going to be going a little bit more in depth on the last video. We're going to start covering those individual processes of the grievance procedure. If you don't remember what those steps were, you can go back, refer to my other video, and it's going to tell you exactly how the whole process works, okay? So today, we're going a little bit more in depth on the Informal A process. 100% of grievances start at the Informal A level. That's just how it works, baby. All right, so just to let you all know, I am an Informal A shop steward over at my station. You can represent yourself in certain situations. However, it's always best to go with somebody designated as the shop steward because management will want to put up a bunch of defenses, stop you from doing stuff. Heck, they even tried to stop it even once I was in Informal A level. They didn't want to participate. So just to let you know, it can be done to represent yourself. I'll have to find some other sources. It'll be a different video. This guy did a great episode about it. I'll have to try to find a link and put it down below once I start getting everything together. But this is just to talk to you all a little bit more about what is your shop steward actually doing behind the scenes. So once you tell him something's going on, what's that process? What are they doing? What is a shop steward? So a shop steward is somebody who takes an oath to uphold the contract of the national agreement. That's the national agreement for the USPS. The carriers, what we agree to are working conditions and wages, and also to uphold what's called the JCAM. That's the Joint Contract Administration Manual. Both the union and management sits down and they agree to the interpretation of the following stipulations of the national contract. So the JCAM is really just an interpretation of the national agreement, okay? But for whatever it's worth, whenever y'all are meeting, y'all go through the JCAM. That's the Joint Contract Administration Manual. The NALC has great resources. You can download the NALC website. They have an app, and then you can pull up all of these different documents, the JCAM, the National Agreement, the ELM, M41s, and things like that. Everything can be available online, so you can start educating yourself. Highly recommend it. That's how I became to be a shop steward, is I started realizing what's going on. Things could have been a little bit different, so I started understanding the process a little bit better, and then that's where I started trying to become a shop steward myself, okay? So here's how we're gonna break this down. You got the NALC Informal A shop steward, okay? That's the lowest level grievance shop steward. They got the Informal A, and then you got the next level, the Formal A. But 100% of grievances come from the Informal A level, okay? So where do the grievances come from? So to begin with, as the shop steward and everything, like carriers, we are the moving force, the driving force behind grievances. Management does not initiate the grievance process. They have no say-so, really, in any part of the grievance process, except that they have an obligation to settle at the lowest level. They have an obligation to provide you the information. They have an obligation to just be involved with the grievance process. But it's your NALC rep who's actually moving that grievance forward, okay? And here's how that process works. So again, grievances don't just come out of nowhere. You can't solicit grievances, but if you know management has a repeat pattern of breaking particular grievances or contract violations, then it's not what they will call going on a fishing expedition where you're just requesting information without knowing anything. So if you know that there's a repeat pattern of behavioral incompliance, then it's not a fishing expedition. You can absolutely request that information, okay? So that's one way you can start a grievance, is by having past grievances that you're continuing to file on. Two, you can file for yourself if anything comes to your attention for either yourself or you can file on behalf of somebody else. Usually that'll be like more of like a class action type situation. Example I used in the last video was so SPMS alerts, if they're telling y'all to hurry up or beat the heat, things like that. Absolutely, you can go tell your shop steward you want to file on it, but they should be filing on that already. And if they're not, then you need to talk to your local chapter president. or your Formal A and tell them that y'all need to start getting things moving over at y'all station, because management is kicking our booties on a lot of different stuff. So we need to start fighting back, and just protecting our careers through this grievance process, okay? Union means we're all together. So what's good for one is good for everybody. We need to stick together, and we need to understand what's going on behind the scenes with this grievance procedure to really make the most of it, okay? So one, you're filing for yourself, or you're filing for a bunch of people that you already know it's going to be a problem. Or three, a carrier comes to you and tells you that they have a specific issue that they're having trouble with, okay? So after you get that information from the carrier, or however you're moving forward with this, you need to request your information. I always suggest turning in all three of these documents at the exact same time. I'll put up links to each of these different documents. I'll see if I can download them and add them to the description of the video. But when you turn in one, turn in every single one, okay? All three. We're going to request for information. We're going to request steward time to review that information, because all of this should be done on the clock. You should not be working at home. Don't let management steamroll you into thinking you got to do all of this at home, after hours, off the clock. If you are a legitimate shop steward, you are entitled to time on the clock to investigate and process grievances. That's what a shop steward does, okay? So you're going to turn in your request for information. You're going to request steward time to review that information. And then you're going to request an informal A meeting with your immediate supervisor to discuss your findings of that information. You may find that there is no contract grievance. You don't necessarily have to meet on it, but while you're meeting all the other ones that are, maybe you can mention it, because that's what an informal A meeting is. It's more of a discussion of your findings, and then they can decide whether they want to settle with you at the lowest level, which is their obligation, or they can decide that they don't want to settle it between y'all. So then you're going to have to escalate that using a PS form 8190. Probably I should write that on there. All right. So that's what we're going to do. Informal A meeting 8190. That's where the 8190s come in. The 8190 is the controlling document. It is the document that escalates a grievance from the informal A level to the formal A level. And how you escalate that may differ depending on your chapter and how y'all do it in y'all's office, or even in y'all's region, or even in y'all's office. Y'all might do it different than the rest of the region. So always contact your local informal A level shop steward, or your formal A shop steward, or your local chapter president, and find out how they want this to be escalated, because you have to do everything in order by the book. I'm just giving you a framework. That's just generally how it works. How it may work in your office could be a little bit different, so make sure you always check with how it's running in your office within y'all's chapter, okay? But generally, this is what happens. Somebody has a grievance, you look for the information, you request the information, you review that information, and then you meet on that information, okay? Now, you either settle at the informal A level with your immediate supervisor, or they say, I don't feel comfortable, let's just send that straight up. 100% of my grievances are being sent up right now because nobody wants to settle anything. So 100% of my informal A grievances are going straight to the formal A level. Okay, but you don't have to be so super prepared at informal A level. Again, this is only just a discussion between you and your immediate supervisor, who may say that they don't have the authority or the bankroll to remedy this situation, but that's an absolute lie. Again, we uphold the contract. In the contract, it specifically states that they have the responsibility and the obligation to settle at the lowest level. So they may not have been trained in how to do it, but that doesn't mean that they're not allowed to do it, okay? So don't let that fool you. Say, oh, well, who do I need to talk to, or what can we do to get you the training so that we can start settling it at the lowest level? That's what the contract states, by the way, okay? So you request for the information, the steward time, and then you meet. It's just a discussion. Generally, you do want to have all of your information together. So if I'm going to say, hey, you shorted so-and-so carrier 2 hours last week. I better have that information approved. So that goes back to number 2, my request for that information. I pull the clock rings for that date. I show management, this is different, how to read clock rings. Maybe I'll do a video on that, but it'll show management clocked the carrier out at 5. However, you can see this carrier is still actively scanning packages all the way up till when they clock out at the office at 7 o'clock manually. So they stole 2 hours of time from this carrier, okay? So now we're gonna meet, we're gonna say, okay, do you wanna remedy this? Do you wanna pay this carrier this 2 hours of overtime? And if not, we're moving this to the next level. So how you move that to the next level is y'all agree to sign this PS form 8190, okay? Now, that's what I say, usually there's 2 different options. There is a 3rd option. I'll have to make a separate video about that, but either in general, they're gonna agree to settle, probably never, or they're gonna agree to send it up. So y'all will both sign the 8190, put all of your information together, clipboard it. Maybe I'll make a separate video about the 8190 because sometimes a lot of that gets a little bit complicated. Again, check with your local chapter president how they want it organized, but they either agree to settle it, they agree to send it up, or they just refuse to meet with you at all. If you have a hardball supervisor or manager and they're not allowing you time or giving you information or meeting with you, as is their responsibility, then immediately you need to tell your formal A shop steward what's going on. You need to tell your local chapter president what's going on. And you may even need to go above them and talk to your national business agent, okay? So definitely those things need to be taken care of, and they need to start cooperating with the labor organization because that is a big, big, big no-no, okay? And I'm not going to suggest anything otherwise at this point, but let's just make sure everybody's cooperating, okay? It's our responsibility, as is theirs, to bargain in good faith, so that's what we want to have happen, especially if you are a certified delegate of the NALC, okay? So other than that, what the shop stewards do, they are accompanying you. They are like your lawyer in what's called a PDI, or often what's called an II, an investigation interview, and they will be your representative in such cases, okay? I'll have to have a super breakdown video on how to handle yourself, conduct yourself in PDIs and IIs. I have a lot of carriers that don't know what to say, what to do, how to behave, but in general, just tell the truth. Listen to your shop steward. And if y'all have any questions, you can leave comments below if that's not how it's working at y'all station. I got a lot of information from this website, from adaarbitration.com. Also, you can talk to, again, your local informal A representatives, your formal A representatives, or your local chapter president. Thank y'all for tuning in for this episode of Shop Steward School with Spencer. See y'all next time.